At 5:53 a.m. on Labor Day, Monday, September 4th, 2003, a driver traveling down Highway 81 near the Texas-Oklahoma border saw what he thought was a deer lying on the side of the road. Wildlife casualties aren't unusual in this rural stretch of road, but as he got closer, he realized the horrifying truth. This wasn't an animal. It was a young man. Two separate drivers called 911 after discovering the body, just minutes apart. What you're about to hear is a portion of one of those calls. Please be advised the following audio may be distressing to some listeners.
911, what is your emergency?
I'm pretty sure there's somebody laying dead along the road. They look naked. I'm staying back. Well, I'm
And
sitting
you-
here blocking the road. I turned around because I just about hit it because there's a deer run across the road. And I'm like, first I thought it was a deer, and I was talking to a guy at work. I'm like, I don't think that's a deer.
The young man on the side of the road was 19-year-old Noah Presgrove. He was found near the white line on the side of the road, nearly naked, wearing only two mismatched shoes, one of which didn't even belong to him. At first glance, it looked like a tragic hit and run, but the more investigators examined the scene, the less sense it made. There was no debris, no blood trail, and his body was positioned in a way that raised serious questions and suspicions. So, what really happened to Noah Presgrove? How did he end up on the side of the road with devastating injuries? And most importantly, who knows the truth but refuses to speak up? Hi, I'm Amanda, and this is Their Voice Matters, where we dig into true crime stories that deserve to be told with clarity and care. My goal is to amplify the voices of those who can no longer speak for themselves and explore the deeper questions their cases raise. To understand this case, we need to understand the young man at the center of it. Noah Presgrove was born on May 14th, 2004, and lived in Comanche, Oklahoma, a small town with a population of just over 1,400. He was known for his big heart, easygoing spirit, and deep loyalty to his friends and family. He was someone you could always count on. A natural athlete and dependable teammate, Noah played on his high school football team and had recently graduated with plans to join the military. His future was full of promise, until everything changed. Labor Day weekend is often considered the last hurrah of the summer. For many young people, it's a time of celebration. One last party before fall routines take over. For Noah, this weekend was no exception. He had been invited to a birthday party in Terrell, Oklahoma, about 30 minutes from his home. The party was celebrating the 22nd birthday of Avery, the sister of his best friend Jack's girlfriend. The plan was a weekend-long celebration at Avery's house. His best friend Jack was also going to be at the party. Jack and Noah had been friends since preschool. They were inseparable for most of their lives. Originally meant to be a small gathering of close friends, the party quickly spiraled into something much bigger. Videos shared on social media of typical house party antics drew in dozens more, including a group of strangers from Texas. What began as a lighthearted night of drinking and dares soon became unpredictable and possibly dangerous. One of the images from that night stood out. There was a partygoer holding a rifle. At 2 a.m., Jack says he decided to call it a night. Before going to bed, he took precautions. He locked up his rifle in his truck and hid the keys to his ATV to prevent anyone from taking it on a joyride. But Noah managed to find and take the keys. At around 3 a.m., he and a few others went for a ride, rolling the ATV at some point. But by all accounts, no one seemed to be seriously injured. But Noah, covered in dirt from the fall, went inside to take a shower. Some partygoers say he was too inebriated to wash himself, so they helped him. His shorts were dirty, so he changed into Jack's white shorts and asked to sleep it off in Avery's bed. She refused, but offered him a spot on the floor. This upset Noah, so he decided to leave the house to cool off. Before he left, he had misplaced one of his shoes, so he took one of his friends, and he was wearing mismatched shoes. This was the last time anyone at the party says they saw him alive. Witnesses claimed this happened around 3:30 a.m. At 3:41 a.m., just minutes after Noah reportedly left the house, a partygoer posted to social media that he was missing. At that time, it appears many believed he had just wandered off and didn't realize anything was seriously wrong. What happened to Noah between the time he reportedly left the house and his body was found less than 3 hours later on the side of the road is a mystery. A few hours later, at approximately 5:53 a.m., two separate drivers spotted Noah's body on Highway 81, about a mile from the party house. Both drivers called 911 within minutes of each other. One even parked his truck in the road to protect Noah from passing traffic. He was lying on the white line of the southbound lane, with his legs bent in almost a fetal position, and his back was facing the road. He had extensive injuries to his head, neck, and torso. He was completely naked except for the two mismatched shoes. The white shorts he had been wearing were found about 25 feet away, in the middle of the road. Nearby, officers found pieces of metal chain that he had been wearing, which was a gift from his grandmother that he wore every day. They also found pieces of some teeth, a clump of hair, and a couple small pools of blood. That morning, Jack was driving to go fishing with his father when he stumbled upon the scene. As he got closer, he immediately recognized his best friend's body. He was the first one to identify that it was Noah. Jefferson County Sheriff Jeremy Wilson was among the first on the scene. He'd worked plenty of accidents, but things didn't add up. He immediately expressed doubts that Noah had died from a hit and run. Quote, "I've seen accidents like this before. There were no car parts, no debris, and there wasn't as much blood as there should have been." The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, or the OSBI, classified Noah's death as suspicious. Sheriff Wilson emphasized the unusual nature of the case. Quote, "We've had people hit before, and we can recreate the scene and make it make sense, make it fill the gaps. The evidence always gives us the facts. We can always backtrack and recreate 99% of the scene." But they weren't able to do that with the evidence at the scene, or what they would learn from Noah's autopsy. It wasn't until 8 months after Noah's death that the medical examiner's report was publicly released, and the findings only deepened the mystery. Before we continue, please note that this next section contains detailed descriptions of physical injuries as documented in Noah's autopsy report. While I believe it's important to share these facts to understand the severity of what happened to Noah, some listeners may find this part distressing. Please feel free to skip ahead if needed. The autopsy revealed that Noah had died from multiple blunt force injuries. He had a deep, jagged wound on his head that exposed the skull, along with severe brain trauma, including a rare fracture that split the base of his skull, often referred to as a hinge fracture. His neck was broken, and multiple vertebrae in his spine were fractured. Internally, he had extensive injuries to his lungs, heart, and spleen, and there was significant internal bleeding throughout his chest and abdomen. His ribs and shoulder blades were broken, and his upper and lower teeth were shattered, with part of a tooth found on the scene. Externally, his body showed scrapes and bruises across his back, torso, arms, and legs. Despite the severity of these injuries, there were no broken bones in his arms or legs, something that stood out to investigators. Toxicology reports showed that Noah had a blood alcohol level of 0.14, which is nearly twice the legal driving limit. However, there were no drugs detected in his system. Despite the severity of his injuries, the medical examiner couldn't determine exactly how they were caused. The official cause of death was listed as multiple blunt force injuries, but the manner of death, whether accidental, homicidal, or otherwise, was listed as undetermined. Following the report, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol announced they were not investigating Noah's death as homicide, but at the same time, they ruled out a traditional hit and run. That left Noah's family and the public searching for answers, with no clear explanation of what happened. If you're finding this case as concerning and puzzling as I did while researching it, please consider liking, subscribing, and joining the conversation in the comments. It really helps more people see stories like Noah's that still need answers. Noah Presgrove's tragic and mysterious death has left so many questions unanswered, and with no official cause determined beyond multiple blunt force injuries, speculation has run rampant. Investigators have all but ruled out a typical hit-and-run accident, but with clear evidence pointing to another cause, several theories have emerged from the public. Each theory has its own inconsistencies, which raises doubts about what really happened in the missing few hours between when Noah was last supposedly seen at the party and when his body was found on the side of the road. Theory 1, hit-and-run or semi-truck accident. One of the earliest assumptions made by both law enforcement and those close to Noah was that he had been struck by a passing vehicle. It's easy to understand why. He was found on the side of the road with severe injuries, but almost immediately, authorities had doubts about this explanation. Let's discuss why they had their doubts. Lack of car debris or skid marks. Sheriff Jeremy Wilson noted that in typical highway collisions, especially at high speeds, there's almost always evidence such as broken car parts, paint transfer, or skid marks where the driver attempted to brake. None of this was found near Noah's body. His shoes were still on. Victims of high-speed pedestrian collisions often have their shoes thrown off due to the sheer force of the impact. Yet, Noah was still wearing both of the shoes. The condition of his shorts. Noah's shorts were found about 25 feet away from his body in the middle of the road. They were clean and undamaged, in seemingly perfect condition. If he had been struck by a vehicle, his clothes should have been affected by the impact as well. The fact that his shorts were thrown completely off, yet his shoes weren't, raises a lot of questions. Position of his body. The position of Noah's body at the scene has raised some eyebrows. He was found in a fetal position, which is highly unusual for someone who has been struck by a vehicle, especially if the impact was severe enough to cause blunt force trauma. Typically, victims in accidents like this are found sprawled out, indicating that they were knocked from their feet. The fetal position, however, suggests a more controlled or different type of fall. Inconsistent injuries. One of the hallmarks of pedestrian vehicle collisions is leg injuries, since this is often the first point of impact, and this often causes fractures of the tibia, fibula, or femur. Other common injuries are hip dislocations or pelvic fractures, if the force is strong enough. Noah didn't have any injuries like this. Little blood found at the scene. In cases of severe trauma, especially from a vehicle collision or a fall, there is usually a substantial amount of blood. Yet Noah's body showed an unusual absence of blood around the area where his body was found. Despite these inconsistencies, Noah's best friend Jack has been adamant that his death was due to a hit and run, possibly by a semi-truck. His reasoning? The injuries Noah suffered were extensive, and he believes only a large vehicle could have caused that level of damage. However, Jack has also suggested another scenario, that Noah might have fallen out of or off of a moving vehicle. Some have pointed out that Jack's insistence on the hit and run theory might reflect a deeper need to believe that whatever happened to Noah was random and beyond anyone's control, rather than the result of something more personal or preventable. Theory 2, an altercation at the party and cover-up. Another theory gaining traction is that something happened to Noah at the party, whether intentionally or accidentally, and that his body was later placed along the highway or even dumped from a moving vehicle to stage his death as a hit and run. This theory stems from multiple factors, including the chaotic nature of the party, Noah's reported conflicts that night, and inconsistencies in witness statements. What was originally meant to be a small gathering of close friends quickly escalated into a full-blown house party, with heavy drinking and an unpredictable atmosphere. The situation may have gotten out of control, increasing the likelihood of tensions boiling over, according to concerns about the environment Noah was in before he vanished. It's reported that Noah got into some arguments that night, including one with his best friend Jack. At some point, Noah was seen speaking with Jack's girlfriend Carter, and this led to a confrontation between the two friends. Jack later described the situation as minor, telling a friend, quote, "We argued about girls for a second, then ended up holding each other, crying, telling each other how much we meant to one another." Noah also got into a fight with another friend, Mikey, over a missing phone. Accounts differ on what happened next. Some say the fight turned physical, with Mikey allegedly hitting Noah and Noah retaliating by biting Mikey's finger. Others insist the argument never escalated beyond words. Eventually, the missing phone was found under someone who had been asleep on the couch, and the two reportedly made up. While these disagreements might have been nothing more than drunken conflicts between friends, they raise the question, could one of these altercations have led to a more serious confrontation, one that resulted in Noah's death? If an argument, fight, or accidental injury occurred at the party, is it possible that someone panicked and attempted to cover it up? Noah's family strongly believes that at least some of the party attendees know more than they have admitted. If a tragic accident happened, the fear of legal consequences, especially for those underage drinking or involved in a potential assault, could have led to a desperate decision to stage Noah's death as a hit and run. Noah's grandmother, who has been at the forefront of seeking justice for him, has pointed out that multiple partygoers have given conflicting accounts of what happened that night. Some details have changed each time the story is told, which raises suspicion that key individuals may be withholding information or even actively covering up the truth. One of Noah's close relatives has publicly pleaded, quote, "Even if it was an accident, it doesn't matter. Come clean." Yet, despite repeated calls for transparency, no one has come forward with a clear, consistent account of what truly happened that night. The silence surrounding the party has only deepened the belief that there may be more to the story than what has been publicly shared. Jack's father has dismissed these theories, saying, quote, "There was no evidence of a fight. people are just making things up. Jack, meanwhile, has given conflicting statements. He initially said he thought Noah was hit by a passing truck, but later speculated that he may have fallen from a moving vehicle. Theory 3, car surfing gone wrong. Another theory that has been proposed online suggests that Noah might have been car surfing, which is incredibly dangerous. Car surfing is standing on the roof or hood of a moving vehicle, typically for the thrill or for a dare. Unfortunately, as with many reckless activities, the consequences can be tragic. There have been numerous reports of people attempting car surfing only to lose their balance and suffer fatal falls, sometimes resulting in severe injuries, like those Noah sustained. Another detail that could support this theory is the condition in which Noah's clothes were found. His shorts in particular were discovered separately from his body, a detail that seemed unusual given the circumstances of the scene. If Noah had been car surfing and lost his balance, it's possible that the motion of the fall could have caused his shorts to become loosened or even removed entirely. This could explain why they were found away from his body, adding an additional layer of evidence to the theory of car surfing. The severity of Noah's injuries could further suggest that he fell from a moving vehicle, as the damage to his skull and ribs would be consistent with the kind of trauma seen in falls from significant heights or from moving vehicles. While the injuries were horrific, they are not beyond the realm of possibility if Noah had been engaging in such an activity. A fall from a vehicle traveling at any speed could cause severe blunt force trauma, especially if the person landed awkwardly or on a hard surface like asphalt. However, just like the other theories, this one is not without its contradictions and gaps. One of the biggest issues with the car surfing theory is the lack of any solid evidence that Noah was engaging in this activity at all. There is no known footage or eyewitness accounts of him car surfing or standing on a vehicle at all. Given how reckless and attention-grabbing car surfing can be, it's surprising that none of the partygoers, many of whom were filming their antics for social media, filmed Noah attempting something so dangerous. If he had attempted car surfing, it's reasonable to assume that at least one person would have noticed it or recorded it. While some of Noah's injuries could align with a fall from a moving vehicle, there are significant discrepancies that cast doubt on this theory. One major inconsistency is the absence of broken arms, wrists, or legs, injuries that are commonly seen in fall victims as they instinctively try to brace for impact. A fall from a moving vehicle typically results in fractures or dislocations due to the force of the landing, yet Noah's injuries don't follow this expected pattern. The condition of the scene also raises doubts about this theory. Only 2 small pools of blood were found near his body, which is unusual for a high-impact fall. If Noah had fallen from a moving vehicle and sustained fatal blunt force trauma, one would expect significantly larger amounts of blood at the location, particularly if he suffered severe head injuries. The lack of substantial bloodshed suggests that either his injuries didn't occur exactly where he was found, or that the trauma was not consistent with a fall from a moving vehicle. Also, his shorts were found away from his body, but remained undamaged, which contradicts what would be expected in a car surfing accident. If Noah had tumbled from a moving vehicle at a high rate of speed, his clothing should have shown signs of damage, such as tearing or abrasions from sliding on the pavement. Instead, his shorts appeared intact, which is inconsistent with the friction-based injuries typical of such an event. Taken together, these inconsistencies make the car surfing theory difficult to fully support. While it remains a possibility, the lack of witnesses, missing evidence, and discrepancies in the injury patterns suggest that this may not be the most plausible explanation for what happened to Noah. Noah's death has left a hole in the hearts of his loved ones, and they're not giving up in their search for the truth. His family continues to push for answers, offering a $16,000 reward for any information that leads to a conviction. His brother, Dalen, summed up the family's frustration, quote, "We know what it's not, but we still don't know what it is." The local community has rallied in support, and peaceful protests have been held in Noah's memory as a way to honor his life and keep attention on the case. A Change.org petition was created calling for charges against the homeowners who hosted the party, arguing that negligence may have played a role in what happened that night. One woman even offered to cover the legal fees for anyone willing to come forward with the truth, but so far no one has taken that step. Noah's grandmother, Deborah, has been especially vocal in her plea for answers. She said, quote, "Stand up for him. He would have stood up for you." Her words are a reminder that this isn't just a case. It's about a young man who mattered deeply to the people who loved him, and they deserve to know what happened. Noah Presgrove's death remains a heartbreaking mystery. What happened during those missing hours? How did he end up on the side of the highway with no one taking responsibility? So far, no one has been charged. No one has come forward with a full account. But that doesn't mean the story is over. If you know anything, no matter how small, it could make all the difference. Please contact authorities at 580-353-0783. Noah's family deserves answers. They deserve peace. And if you've made it this far into the video, thank you. Keeping Noah's story alive is part of the fight for justice. Please share this video, leave a comment, and consider liking and subscribing to help amplify stories like Noah's, because every voice matters, especially the ones who are no longer here to speak for themselves. If you found Noah's case as haunting and complex as I did, you'll want to take a look at the disappearance of Summer Wells, a 5-year-old girl who vanished from her home in rural Tennessee, sparking endless questions and very few answers. Click here to watch that one next. I'll see you there.